You're watching Arguendo, where I analyze arguments without taking sides. What's going on here is it's December 1990, and Arsenio Hall is confronted by two gay activist protesters who accuse him of not inviting gay guests onto the show, with the implication being that Hall is biased against gay people.
Huh? I'm sorry, I can't hear you, man. Why don't I have any gay guests on my show? Wait, I'm sorry, why don't I have any gay guests on my show? Well, there are a lot of gay guests who really don't like to talk about their sexual preference, so we don't know whether they're gay or not. You know?
This argument can be taken in two different ways depending on what he meant by the word we. If we means myself and the audience, this argument can be simplified as, many people prefer to keep their sexuality private, I have many guests, therefore I probably have had gay guests without even knowing it. This argument doesn't address the accusation of bias, but it does technically address the first issue of whether or not gay people are on the show. The answer being, maybe? If by we, he means the audience only, which is sometimes called the second person we, or the patronizing we, like when a doctor asks you, how are we feeling today? This argument can be simplified as, I have gay guests who don't reveal to the audience that they are gay. I knew that those guests were gay. Therefore, I am not biased against gay people. This argument does make sense. If it is true that Hall knowingly invited gay guests onto his show, that fact would suggest that he is not biased against gay people.
Who would you like me to have on my show that's gay that maybe I haven't had? Who? I don't know Gus Van Sant, but I know Elton John. He's been here and he's rocked the house. Okay? Okay?
This argument can be simplified as, I had Elton John on the show. Elton John is gay. Therefore, I am not biased against gay people. This argument reminds me a little bit of the I have gay friends defense.
I got gay friends I've had on the show.
It does directly refute accusation number one. And as for accusation two, it seems to suggest a lack of anti-gay bias, although we certainly could imagine scenarios where Elton John is on the show and Hall is biased against gays. For example, suppose an executive producer chose Elton John as a guest and overrode Hall in the decision. So, because it's possible that Elton John could be on the show and Arsenio Hall could be biased against gays, this argument is kind of weak. It's probably somewhere on the spectrum between not effective and mildly effective. Next.
You think I haven't had somebody on the show because they're gay? What's wrong with you, man? I'm black. I'm black, man. I'm black, man. I'm the biggest minority you know about. I don't want to hear that gay trash, man.
This argument can be simplified as, I am black, blacks are a minority group, therefore I am not biased against gay people. And he is implicitly acknowledging that gays are also a minority group. And, because of this acknowledgement, it seems reasonable that he is also implying that the commonality of blacks and gays as minority groups is significant in some way. Unfortunately, the significance mentioned in premise 3 is not specified. It's possible that what he meant was, the minority status of blacks and gays is significant because members of different minority groups are never biased against each other. This claim does not make sense, at least not without some serious justification, which Hall does not give. So what about this possibility? The minority status of blacks and gays is significant because minorities who endure bias feel a kinship with other minorities who have also endured bias. This makes a little more sense, but there's a problem with claiming that all members of a group would feel this kinship. Let's say he meant to be more specific. The minority status of blacks and gays is significant because my own minority status has given me, personally, a sense of kinship with other minorities. Here we go. This makes sense. If we interpret Hall's argument charitably, this is probably what he meant, and it could have been what he would have actually said had he been able to sit down ahead of time and organize his thoughts. This was, after all, a very spontaneous and heated conversation. But unfortunately, for the sake of this particular analysis, he did not say those words. Based on the argument he actually made, in the moment, with all its flaws, we're back to, I am black, blacks are a minority group, and gays are also a minority group. The minority status of blacks and gays is significant in some unspecified way. Therefore, I am not biased against gays. At the end of the day, this argument does not make sense, because there's no justification offered as to why the commonality of the minority status of blacks and gays would lead us to believe that he, Arsenio Hall, is not biased against gays. He just doesn't close that gap.